in the made body, not in the created man. The creation of the woman, that which is the reality of a woman is Christ. The reality of the man is Christ. So that the differences are not in what creation made us to be. Come on. The only difference is in the body which was made. Are you hearing this? Now turn for one verse, Galatians chapter 3 and verse 28. Galatians chapter 3 and verse 28, or verse 27 for the connection. As many of you as have been baptized into Christ, you have put on Christ. That's men and women. And there is neither Jew nor Greek. There's neither bond nor free, and there is neither male nor female. Why? Because we are all out of the one. That's not a number. We have come out of the one. The woman, the man, yes, both have come out of the one, which is God. Therefore, in God's eyes, God does not recognize a woman as a woman. God never recognized Eve in the garden. Do you notice that? Chapter 5, Genesis, verse 1, 2, I think it is. It says, and God called them Adam, not Adam and Eve. God never recognized the woman as a separate entity from Adam. Now that should help you women. Because I know in the world women have been put down because of religion. You realize that? And I'm not talking about Islam. I'm talking about Christianity. I tell you, when I was young, I can remember the preachers saying, you women, you obey your husbands. Come on, you're the weaker vessel. You must obey your husband. I tell you, I think there's been more divorces over that concept than anything else. I want to tell you, men, your wife is an equal with you. There is no lesser vessel. We are equal. And that submission is a two-way thing. The wife will submit to you when you submit to her. And when you are submitted to each other, you have a wonderful marriage. And in the church, there should be no distinction. No distinction at all. Look at the number of women in the Bible that have really ministered to God's people. They're there. I don't mean that, you know, every woman's got to become a preacher. I know that God has called some. I want to tell you, I was in a church over there in Ocean Island, I think it was, North Carolina. And there's a woman there with that fellowship. I said to her before I left, I said, sister, I don't know what you're doing, but I said, what you're producing in this people, I said, just keep on doing it. You're blessing them. And they are wonderful. They're a wonderful fellowship. I'm not hung up on that, and I don't want you to be hung up on this religious thing about men and women. We are the same. But I want to tell you, God said, be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth. So one day I said, you know, Lord, my wife and I, we've had 5 children, we've got 17 grandchildren, we've got 9 great-grandchildren. I think I've done my bit toward filling the earth. And God said, that's got nothing to do with it. Why not? If you want a verse, it's in the Epistle to James, chapter 1 and verse 18. And here's what he says. This is the Apostle James. He says, of his own will God begat us. God did not chase around heaven looking for a woman in order to procreate. He could create out of himself. Out of himself. And so can you. So can you. Every one of you. So can you. You can procreate. But listen, what does it say? It says, of his own will he begat us with the word of truth, so that we might be a kind of first fruits. You know, that's the beginning of a harvest. That's the initial first few shoots that have gone up and produced this mature grain before all the rest of the harvest is ready. That's what we are today. We are the beginning of a new harvest of the God kind of people. That's my translation. Not just producing children, but the God kind of people. That's what we are. And that's what we are to produce. That is the heart of my ministry. My ministry is to produce those kind of people that are the first fruits of a new harvest that this world is waiting to see. I want to tell you, all of creation is waiting for a true manifestation of God's children. Going back here quickly now, 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 1. He says, we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle could be separated, that is the soul from the body, that the body might be released from the control of the soul and the soulish mind, the carnal mind of man, then you will have the body you want. The reason why it is a body of sin today is because it's under the control of the carnal mind. And so the carnal mind says, what do you want to do? You know what the children of the world are saying today, the young people? If it feels good, do it. Don't even think about it. So the carnal mind is the thing that has made our bodies to become a body of sin. In 1 Corinthians chapter 6, where it says in verse 19 that your body is the temple of God, if you go back a little bit, Paul is talking about fornication. And I say, Paul, what are you talking about fornication? You're talking to a church, for goodness sake. Surely you're talking to a church. You're not going to talk about fornication. Oh, yes, he was. And oh, yes, it's necessary. But I'm not talking about fornication in the natural sense. But what is fornication in the natural? It's using your body for an illegal purpose. You got it? Fornication is using your body for an illegal purpose. And he says your body is the temple of God. It does not belong to you. That is fornication if you use your body for anything that is not the will and purpose of God. Come on. You understand? We get involved with a whole lot of stuff. And I want to tell you, if that's not the will and purpose of God for your life, you better desist. Because your body does not belong to you. It's there for the purpose of God manifesting himself. Chapter 5, verse 1, 2 Corinthians. Our body, if this connection could be broken, then he said, we have our body from heaven. Well, where does it come from? It comes from within. Not from out there, not from up there, but it comes from within. Let's see what happens. Well, it says, for in this body, verse 2, in this body we groan, earnestly desiring to be clothed upon with our house from heaven. Do you earnestly desire your house from heaven? You know what that means, you know. Hey, this is number one priority. I want my house from heaven. I want a body that is not subject to cancer and all the other stuff. I want a body that will be eternal, that will last forever and ever.